All right. So I'm quite passionate about coaching and mentoring an organisation. I think it's something that has been overlooked in the last few years, and I've certainly noticed a change in the work we are getting, where people are now asking for a combination of the two. Can we have some classroom and can we have some one-on-one? Which I actually think is a fantastic idea. But today we're going to be talking about coaching and mentoring. The subject areas are: what is the difference between coaching and mentoring? Who should play what role? What are the essentials of the structure you'll need? And how do you set up a program to gain buy-in? So I kind of occurred to me a number of years ago working for an organization that grew from nearly nothing, two or three people, and it just sort of grew, and it grew into quite a large organization. But the one paradigm, and I call it the three-headed monster, that seemed to flow through this organization, and the leadership team couldn't really kind of get it out of their heads. They grew a company attracting people who didn't need leadership, didn't need training development, and that the members of that senior team would do whatever it takes to make money for the company. I guess, as time goes on, that's not the case. As you attract more and more people to the business, you'll run out of people who are just there to work and have that really close relationship and feeling like they're building the business. And you'll end up with a range of people who really do need leadership, do need training development, and won't do whatever it takes to make money for the company. So this is kind of an interesting one, because this came out in RE magazine in 2019, and it's talking about the reasons professionals are thinking of planning to leave their current roles. Half say there's lack of promotion activities, 42% cite a lack of new challenges, a quarter said they had poor training and development, another quarter cited poor work-life balance. And it's interesting, this is just before, I guess, COVID hit. Top reasons people are job seeking right now is because many are on the brink of burnout. And it's kind of interesting that the top article in RE magazine this morning, what I got in, was that people are on the brink of burnout. But in saying that, this article came out in Harvard Business Review in October 2016. Corporations are victims of the great train robbery. American companies spend enormous amounts of money on training employees and education, $160 billion in the US and close to $356 billion globally, but they're not getting a good return on their investment. For the most part, the learning doesn't lead to better organizational performance because people soon revert to their old ways of doing things. So really what they're saying is, you send someone off to a training program, you don't change the context to which they're operating in, you don't take what they've learned and spread it out to the company or make it part of how you're going to do something differently. You've got really no chance of them coming back from a training and actually doing something differently. And this is where coaching and mentoring really start to make an enormous difference to a business and an enormous difference to your training and education spend. People are joining your company to engage their technical and professional skills. So they'll apply for the job and what have you. The company will put its best foot forward, tell them about all the opportunities and how they're going to enhance their career and grow. But really, when it comes to the other end of it, they're leaving your company because of cultural, personality, or value misalignment issues. And that can be attached to poor management and leadership skills. And bottom line is, good leadership engages and keeps good people. Now, good leadership, my view of good leadership, it isn't command and control, it isn't stick and carrot anymore, it's coaching leadership. So setting up programs where you're actually engaging your staff and leaders are spending the time coaching and develop those skills in culture, values, and personality alignment, if you like. I've just come back from doing a big job up in Port Hedland, where we put through probably approximately 50 leaders through a combination coaching training program. And I guess the one thing that really stood out, it's an engineering company, needless to say, in the resources area. And they spent a lot of time and effort looking at the technical skills. They spent a lot of time and effort trying to build a safety culture. But out of these leaders, and we're talking about even the managers right up to the senior leadership team, could not tell me what the values of the company were and could not tell me what those values look like in action. So they're not really concentrating on developing the interpersonal skills. Then you throw in a whole group of people who have come up for FIFO to do shutdowns and things like that. If you're not talking to people and engaging people in interpersonal skills and developing that, you're not going to attract good people. And the thing at the moment is there's an enormous shortage of skill. And if your company is not getting what it needs, or your employees aren't getting what they need from the company, there's someone down the road that's willing to offer them $1 an hour more, and if they will skip. So people will tolerate variations in salary if they're working in a good, strong organization and team. But if they don't see any difference between one company and another, they will jump for the money. So coaching and leadership, not just training and develop a classroom training, coaching and mentoring through leaders is an excellent way of keeping and engaging your employees in a time when there is a massive shortage and your cohort is under attack. There's plenty of opportunities out there. And that's what we've got very, very busy doing lately, working with people, working with leaders and organizations to help develop their leadership so they develop good cultural personality alignment and value alignment skills. So what's the difference between coaching and mentoring? Well, mentoring is a relationship, which is more an experienced, more knowledgeable person helps to guide a less experienced or less knowledgeable person in the business. So this is operating within a business where you have, I guess, that range of skills where it's more of a learning and development relationship between someone who has experience in that area and someone who wants to learn in that area. And I guess it sits across the company, the politics, and things like that within an organization. When you talk about coaching, coaching is a development process designed to help individuals and team achieve and sustain top performance. So a mentor is developing an individual in quite a round way in terms of the organization, the transferable skills, and to a certain extent the technical skills. Coaching is really going in and having a look at areas where a team or an individual has a shortfall in a particular skill area and addressing that specifically. And I guess that's why we are getting more and more work of people asking us to come in, do some training, and then meet with the individuals that attended the training so that we can take that training and tailor it specifically to the development needs of each individual that attended the training. As I say, that is the trend at the moment. Why coaching? There's a number of reasons you may want to coach someone, develop further skills for the current role, preparing for promotion, or adjusting or refocusing behaviour that may be discouraged and have a discouraging effect on the team. So there are a number of factors you might want to consider before you get a coach in. Would an internal, external coach best meet our needs? Is coaching the best medium developing the knowledge and skills that's required? Has the coachee agreed to be coached? And this is an absolute key one. I tend to work and decide with the company very, very quickly whether the person is going to be engaged in coaching or is not. If they're not going to be engaged in coaching, then I will withdraw from the assignment, because working with someone who doesn't want to be coached is a waste of everyone's time and money. Is the investment of value to the individual team of the business? Are your areas of development quite clear? I mean, coming in saying that someone doesn't like their attitude, try and really tighten up that coaching so we're delivering specific behavioural outcomes over a period of time. And have you spoken candidly to the coaching candidate about what they require from it? We've had some people try and handball their almost performance management plan over to us for an individual that they don't want to confront for poor behaviour or poor performance. Why mentoring? So it develops some more esoteric skills, political, behavioural, value, and cultural, which is specific to the organisation and unique to the organisation, if you like. To establish that succession planning so that you are engaging. When you bring a coach in external to the company, then they don't know the nuances and the intricacies of an organisation. That's where mentoring can help. And it's embedding the company culture. I guess the one thing that I'm sure we're all across now is a fish rots from the head. If you want a company culture, it has to be decided at the senior management level, what it looks like, what it doesn't look like, and it's very clear, and it is being rolled out through the company, through managers, through superintendents, through supervisors, and through leading hands. And the factors we recommend considering before you enter mentoring is what is the goal or object of it? Does the mentor understand the role and is willing to engage? Has the mentor agreed to be mentored? And do we need measures in place to understand the impact if you're building a business case around it? Do we have the right structure, not structure and framework and other benefits well understood by all the stakeholders? So in summary, coaching programs are targeted towards results and performance, shorter term, high level of structure, current and specific to a work role, usually done between direct reports, and expectations of short-term results and changes, and you can bring an external coach in to assist you there. Whereas mentoring is focusing on personal growth and development within the company, longer-term focus, low level of structure, not necessarily role-specific, networking within the company, educating the individual about specifics of the company and industry, and looking at longer-term changes through support and encouragement. Obviously, when I go into an organisation, I don't know the intricacies of the organisation. Sometimes I do know the intricacies technically, but I've never been brought in as an external coach to coach someone technically, unless it's specifically in a management area that we have some expertise in. So mentoring in terms of the bigger picture, sharing or retaining knowledge, ensuring adequate supply of the leadership talent, promoting diversity and creating a continuity or creating continuity of the culture through the organisation. I remember many, many years ago, it was very, very popular for a little while. It seems to come in and out of popularity, but I think at the moment, if you are looking at retaining your top people, you really want to be thinking about ways that I can engage a broader range of people in the organisation. And I think what I'm seeing is as we get busier and busier, that activity of busyness and doing the work is getting pushed up higher and higher in management. In other words, they don't have time to concentrate on the culture and people. And certainly this organisation I've been recently working with, they have a very high expectation of senior managers of the business getting hands-on and dirty into the nitty-gritty of the delivery. But who is sitting back and developing the people, and how are they deciding the culture and promoting and creating that culture, and where is that development of individuals? So who should play what role? I had kind of an interesting situation where, once again, working with the company just yesterday, and I had a fellow come in, he was a senior manager, and I mentioned one of the superintendents to him, and he says, oh, I've just been asked to coach him. I don't know what that means. No, mentor. He did use the word mentor. I've been asked to be his mentor, but I don't know what that means. And I kind of found it a little bit interesting, because if I looked at the two profiles, I would not have put that person with that superintendent to be their mentor. There was not a lot of diversity there. And then the fact you've got a senior manager turning to me saying, what does it mean? I don't even know what mentoring is. I've been asked to mentor this person. So who needs mentoring? Well, new employees in that transition into the business, graduates, if you really want to get the best out of them, rising stars in the business, any minority groups, diverse groups, women in traditionally male-dominated environment, leaders and managers around any major change or transformation. Certainly that bottom one there has really gained some momentum. Looking at some of the companies in the US, they basically, some of the large change organizations now are going into companies and saying, unless we get 6 months training the leaders and managers in this company how to lead a major change, we're not going to engage in the company. This is before we even go out to the troops. So it was a real recognition that the leadership team can engage or derail any kind of major transformation or change in your organization. So roles and responsibilities: as the mentor or the coach, be available, act as a role model, challenge, hold people accountable, identify skill gaps, provide honest feedback, provide a safe risk-taking environment, share experience and expertise, and partner with the mentee's manager so that everyone is kind of across where we're going with this. I guess one of the methods we use, we always involve the larger organization in any coaching program we're doing, because I don't want that coaching program to be or anybody around that individual not to understand exactly what they're focusing on and what behavioral or technical change they're looking to achieve over the coaching period. People need support to make changes. It's it takes a lot of self-discipline to be isolated in the same context and make changes. So the mentee is about being proactive, scheduling meetings, maintaining contact, complete planned documents, identifying personal strengths and weaknesses, identifying your own professional goals, identifying needs and interests, and reviewing your own progress as you go through. I guess this is the career progression, but how do we go about doing it? So, I mean, I always talk about 3 key areas that I look at in terms of individual skill and part of their career. There is their vocation, their professional skill, whatever that might be, accountant, a boilermaker, whatnot. Then you have a nice big chunk of transferable skills. And it's amazing how many people write a resume, apply for a role, or talk about career and never think about those transferable skills. And they are the skills that they apply that doesn't matter what their vocation is. And that may be their ability to engage, do presentations, lead a group, that type of thing. And then you have company knowledge, things that are specific to the way that company, and it may be their ERP, safety management procedures, all that type of thing. So you have that work of the role, and that is probably heavily based on that vocation. You're developing transferable skills, and there's company knowledge. What we see is not uncommon in many companies. I'm sure you've seen this yourself. We promote people with a good level of vocational, transferable, and company skills. We usually promote them into a supervisory role. But a supervisory role then becomes a people management role, and that's where a lot of businesses and a lot of individuals really start to struggle. So you can end up with a situation with a really top team, with a high performer. He or she gets promoted to take on that role as a lead for that team, and really struggles with the people leadership, people management side of it. And then you end up with a disillusioned supervisor and a disillusioned team. But transferring through that, then you're moving people into a senior management role. And that is more than the work of the role and more than supervising and managing people. It is now we're talking about the business of the business. So where are you developing those skills? How do I transfer someone from work of the role to supervisor and people leadership? Well, they need coaching, they need development, they need mentoring. How do I transfer someone from that supervisory middle management role into senior management role, where now the focus is on shareholders, finance, that type of thing? Well, once again, it needs a focus on coaching and mentoring as well as that education process. So it's a big leap from the left to the right. So what are the essentials of the structure you need to kick off mentoring and coaching? Well, really, like anything, you need senior leadership buy-in and sponsorship. It's absolutely essential. If senior leaders aren't buying into the program, then that attitude will filter down through the organization in the same way that if they're totally on board, that will filter down. I mean, a lot of the conversations I'm having with the leaders is just be very, very careful about what you say, how you act, because what you say becomes a fact for the people that report for you. So if you're negative about the organization, an individual or whatever, that becomes the facts for the people who are looking up to you. You should have some policies and procedures and approach, formal, informal, whether it's recorded, ad hoc, whatever, but there needs to be some structure around it. Take the time to try and develop the coaches and mentors, especially in having effective meetings. So many times I've been, when I was working in the industry, working for an organization, there would be performance management meetings and there would be mentor meetings, and they really just turned into a cup of coffee that was paid for by the company. It wasn't particularly effective, it had no goals, and the person I was interacting with, although fantastic, really didn't know what they were trying to achieve from it either. You want to put some measures, you want to put some feedback, because you're seeing your leadership, if you want their buy-in and their continued buy-in, they're going to need to see some kind of measure and feedback from it. and a strong desire or need to develop a coaching and mentoring culture to positively impact on business. And at the moment, it is retention of your top people. That's what they're expecting. And as you're talking about the diversity through the organisation in terms of age or gender or whatever it is that diversity is, that's where coaching and mentoring can really make a positive difference. So really best practice, it needs to be a balance of focusing on coaching models and practices so that people who are coaching and mentoring understand exactly what they do to get the best out of it, and the focus on appropriate business imperatives, the content. That'll give you the start. Measurable, valuable, sustainable development with your people. Anything else and you're starting to wander off the track. So this is an interesting one. This is a case study. So a case study, why are we embarking on a coaching mentoring program? So this is the one company's answer to that. And it's a big company. You would know the company if I mentioned it. We need to continually and consistently develop people in our values, culture, systems, and process, our sustainable strategic advantage, and keep those people. Succession planning is important for our future. We are competing heavily in the national and international market for talented human resources. We already invest an enormous amount of money in our professionals, but we still have a little way to go to bridge that gap. Professionals demand it, or they'll go somewhere else. And a strong mentoring program provides us with a powerful recruitment tool. So there is a very, very strong business case already there. So how do I set up in the program and gain that buy-in? Well, there's different ways of doing it. And as I say, at the moment, in terms of programs I'm doing, it's starting off with group and then it's dropping down to one-on-one. So I might spend 3 or 4 hours doing a workshop on a particular area, and then I'm meeting with each individual and translating what they learned in that workshop to be something that they can individually take out and practice for themselves in the workplace. But mentoring can be informal and formal, can be structured, it can be mandated, and it can be voluntary. But just be careful, even if it's voluntary or it's informal, it still needs to have some form of structure around it, and it still needs to, you need to follow that sequence of building that program. Rather than informal doesn't mean there's nothing, just meet with someone and give it your best shot. So gaining buy-in from the individual, they need to understand why mentors need to know why they're invited to be part of the corporate mentoring program. Specifically, they need to know how they can be useful or contribute to the development and what's expected of them. And I mean, what's expected of them as part of it is important. For the business, company leaders are often skeptical about the need for mentoring coaching programs and how exactly it will benefit the organisation. So buy-in is required for your mentoring program, funding is required for the mentoring program, and advocates are required for the mentoring program. So if you're looking at that, I would suggest you do build a business case around it. And it's not a difficult business case to build at the moment. So really, in summary, our recommendation starts with leadership. Throughout the process, leaders need to be involved and thoroughly briefed. It's just not a HR project. So if you don't have your senior leaders well and truly involved and understanding exactly why this is necessary. Now, people in the business, having just worked with, as I say, 50 people, doing disc profiles for all of them, you very, very clearly see where people start to sit. And it was an interesting company. There's a lot of D's in the company. It's an engineering company. Not that that is specifically linked to the disc profile, but it is a company that is very high in terms of task orientation, which means they're not paying a lot of attention to the people. But guess what? Their issues are people issues. When you talk to a senior manager in the business, I have to get involved in everything. I can't trust my people to do anything. That I'm not looking at that being a technical problem. I'm looking at them doing more and more to solve a technical problem when they've got a people problem. So getting them involved, and I guess also with the people on the left-hand side are very, very task-oriented. They tend to have got there without having to think about that type of thing. So an education engagement process and bring on board to think about people in the organisation and the development they need is really essential. Open and honest and timely communication will build trust, engagement and understanding. Look at things from the participant's point of view and take steps to support them, they will have the strongest positive impact for your people. So make sure they understand where they're going with it, what the purpose of it is, and it's getting creative about adding value to them. It's nothing worse than setting up a program, nominating someone to turn to it. And these days, if they turn up once or twice and it's not giving them what they want, they're going to evaluate that reasonably quickly and then check out, even just mentally. So don't forget, it's for the good. The project is meant to help the business and get the business onto positive growth as quickly as possible. So you really are trying to build that business case around if this, then that, in terms of what's important to the business, not just what might be in terms of HR. It's always interesting, I guess there's two schools of thought. One school of thought is around, well, if everyone is really happy and engaged and having fun at work, you will drive higher productivity. The other one is if we have structured culture, values, and we create a context in which they operate, then, and everyone's clear about that, they will be more engaged. I'm in the second camp. I don't think there has been any studies that have shown a close correlation between happy employees directly to increased productivity. There needs to be some kind of structure around there, which their efforts and their goals and their focus and what have you is supported. Okay. So how can we help? That's our list of services that we provide and our list of customers we work with. So that brings us to a conclusion of coaching and mentoring. As I say, I'm a huge supporter. I think training is great. Training is great to develop technical skills, but there are 3 levels of skills, and that people interaction, there's 4 billion different personalities on the earth. Assuming that people, because they are people, are going to figure that out is probably a bit of a stretch. Having coaching and mentoring around the politics, around the individuals, around personalities, around the culture and values of the organisation are really, really strong in bringing that balance in, where you have a safety focus, you have a technical vocation focus, and you also have a values and cultural focus. But coaching and mentoring can be aligned to technical skills as well. And certainly a lot of effort has gone in the safety space. So I've read through a lot of your questions and what have you, and I've certainly attempted to answer all of those that have come through. I don't think there's anything outstanding. All right, well, thank you very much for your attendance. We will be packaging this up and sending it out as on YouTube, so on our YouTube channel, and you'll also get a copy of the slides that we presented today. Please give us a call if you have any further questions or you'd like to discuss your coaching and mentoring requirements of your business. Signing off, Peter James from Career Life Transitions. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.